Hello and welcome back to Projects of Wellington. Today we're going to be doing the timing chain on this Mini Cooper. It's a 2007. I've already started it, but I thought I'd better document it because obviously I'm going to be putting it back together. So the first job is to obviously disconnect your battery, which I've done. Then take the engine cover off of here. That's a Torx T30, which undoes those two there, and then a 7mm or an 8mm socket to undo the wiring, and that's obviously a ground. Disconnect all of those, take out your ignition coils, and then this is where I'm up to now. So the next stage, so the next job is to disconnect the cylinder head breather, which is this one. Not sure how that comes off, I'll give it a go. Okay, so you just push in those two. It's hard to get to that one at the bottom, but it will come out. We'll tuck that away for now. That's that one. Okay, so the next job is to remove all of these, just to get these out of the way. So that's another breather there. We're under, disconnect that. Disconnect that. Take that off of there. So that's that off. So next job, we'll undo these. They're two 8mm sockets. And then we'll undo all these bolts around here to take the cylinder head off. So that'll be our next job. So we've just done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 bolts for the head. So we'll just take all of those out and put them somewhere safe. We've just undone all the bolts and now we're taking the head off. Just pulls away now. There's a couple of clips here that you can undo. So next job is just to remove this cover. Cover's off now, as you can see. We're going to remove the spark plugs next. There's 4 of those, so we're just going to get our socket to remove those. Remove the spark plugs, so the next job is to remove the ancillary belt. So the way we do that is remove this front wheel, pump it up in the air, take all the lining out of the front, and then I'll be able to show you how to release the belt. Job we need to do is remove this because this is stopping us get access to the vanos at the back, and also there's that bolt there which is a tensioner for the chain. That also needs to come out for us to get that out. So the next job is obviously to remove this pipe and to undo this here fuel line and the plastic. So that's our next job. Okay, so I've undone that now. So there was just 1, 2, 3, 4 screws or bolts. These ones here, they were 13mm, and I've also just loosened this just so I can move it about a bit, and they're just a hex Torx, which is a T30. There you go. So now I've removed that. We've now can move this out the way and we can get access to that plug. Okay, so the next job now is to actually line up these cams together. So we need to go down to the bottom here and turn that which I believe is a 18mm socket. And now we've taken the spark plugs out, should be a lot easier for us. We turn the crank now, and basically what we needed to do is line up these on here so they're all in the same place, and then we can put a locking tool in to lock all these up, and then we can start to remove or unbolt the chain. So next job is to put our locking tool in. Okay, so now that those are lined up on the top, we've now put our tool in, which goes into the gearbox bit here, the second one, and it just pushes in and locks. So that's all done. I've put these coil packs in there to stop anything from falling. Obviously there's no spark plugs in there, so now we can put our other tools on to lock all these up for us to be able to start doing the chain. Put that lock tool in, but obviously the timing's out on this one, so we've now got to undo this here to be able to manoeuvre this around to where it needs to lock. So we're just going to be undoing these ones, which look like an 8mm spanner. Move that with the two 8mm sockets and just placed it over there out the way and kept the actual screws with it. Next job is to remove all this here so we can get access to the engine mounts there. So the next job I'm going to do is undo all this, undo that. Obviously when you do this, make sure this is all connected and put right, because you don't want to lose that, because that's the only way you can open your bonnet. So that's going to be our next job. We've removed the bolts there and there, and then taken off that attachment for the front. All you had to do was just loosen this so it would move out the way for getting those off, and obviously they're fixed, so that's all done. Unfortunately that broke. I reckon it's already been broken and they've re-glued it, so we'll glue that back on when it comes to it. There was two T30s on either side of the lock-in for the bonnet, so that's all undone, and then all of that comes apart. So next job is to take the auxiliary belt off, and how we do that is this special tool that I've had to purchase to take the tension back and then push that pin in, this one here. So that'll be our next job, is take the tension off the belt. Okay, so to release this, or release the tension and put your pin in, the best thing I found was not the tool that I paid 20 quid for. It was actually a 22mm spanner. And just putting that on there and pulling tension, just hold it in really tight and pull it in, and then you can put your locking pin in and it's fine. So the next job now is to take the belt off, which is underneath obviously. I've started doing it, and as you can see that's what we've got to so far. The tension's off, so we need to wrap it or unwrap it from around the alternator, like so. Then it goes around this big wheel here. Now there's another tensioner there, which I believe you pull a tension, pull this out. It's like a, that's it, isn't it? And then you wrap that up there, that just looses tension around that bit there, so then you can take this out, he says. I'll pull it a bit more. There you go, so that's off. You obviously then just got to feed it around until you can pull it out. And then just check the belt to make sure there's no damage to it, because they're so cheap. You're better off replacing it if need be. But we'll just remove that now. See, that's pretty worn out. It's got loads of cracks in it. So we'll replace this before we fit it all back together again. Last thing you want to do is that snap on you. So the next job is to remove this completely. This, I believe, clips on to teeth somewhere. Don't know where, it must be at the top. Oh, there you go. That's clipped up now. So next job is to remove this part here, the tensioner, completely, and then we can remove the engine mounts. Before we move this, because really you need to undo the engine mounts so we can drop the engine down to get to the 3 bolts up there, we're going to remove this flywheel first. We're going to remove that, set that aside, and then undo our engine mounts at the top. Sockets set to get that off. We're just going to undo these. That's 1, 2. And that's the 3, so now we can move this off, hopefully. So we remove that wheel now, so now we're just going to set that aside, up there somewhere, and then we're going to take the engine mounts off next. Jack underneath the engine, a block of wood, just to protect the sump, because the last thing you want to do is go through the sump. So the next job is to undo all the engine bolts, and then we can move the engine about in there freely to get access to all the pins that need to be placed in. I still haven't been able to lock that because obviously timing's out, so we've got to wait until we remove the chain so we can realign it and then set it correctly. So next job, undo the engine mounts. So I've removed the engine mount now. It used a 13mm socket on both these ones here, and then we used a 18 to undo the big one. Just disconnect the earth to the engine as well, just keeps that out of the way. Now we can lower the engine to take off that other tensioner, the electronic tensioner. On the 3 bolts now, we've just got this electrical connector to remove, and then we can move this out of the way and then carry on with the next stage. What we've done is remove this top bracket here, which holds the wire that goes to the alternator. It's just 2 10mm bolts to undo that, and then there's 4 of these E14s, which is the same ones that open up these. Now, as you can see, I've put the lock on there because what I've done is put this under tension by pulling it with that one in place, and then with doing that it's actually lined up the cams quite well. So the next job is to undo the tensioner on the back, which is a 28mm socket. So I've undone that, you can see it turning in there, and that just takes tension off of the chain. I've also put a tie around there just to hold the chain up, because we don't want it just dropping once we've undone these. So yeah, that's coming out. There's the tensioner for the top. We've now got to undo the other 2 down the bottom there, which by lowering the engine we'll be able to get to. Which are those 2, which are probably T30 Torx again. So we've got to undo that, and also undo this and take this off, because that holds the bottom bracket. I believe those are tensioners as well for the chain, those 2, and then we've got to undo that, and then the chain should come away. So that's the next job. These now, So we're just going to take the bolts out, remove these, and then we can do the tensioners down the bottom and release the crankshaft bolt, and then these should lift out. The bolt from there, so now then, and the guides are out as well, just place them down there. So now we should be able to lift the chain out with the guides. He says. I'll give that a go and hopefully they'll come out now. So as you can see, I've managed to remove that from the engine now, and all the plastic's been thrown in the bin. So now we just got to get our new kit out and start to obviously remove this from here so we can put our new chain in. Check down there, it's all nice and clean, there's nothing down there, so that's fine. Just got to put this all back together now, so I'll get the chain kit out now, so show you. So this is the chain kit, so you get your new chain, your new safety, whatever they call it. All your bolts that you need to retain back in, put new ones, new sprocket for the bottom, and then this is your chain plastic guides that need to be placed in. So first to do, remove that one, take the old sprocket off, and then see what else we've got in the kit. Put the new chain on sprocket, we'll guide through to that.